You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening. My name is Arya Whitner, and this is your NXT audio update for Wednesday, May 18th, 2016. NXT was a fun little show this week, furthering the angles, furthering the storylines, leading to NXT TakeOver June 8th on the WWE Network. I'll kick things off this week with tag team action as Blake and Murphy took on Austin Aries and his mystery partner, who this match, of course, was set up last week when Austin Aries was having a meeting with William Regal. Blake and Murphy stormed in and demanded a title shot, so Mr. Regal made this tag match, told Aries to pick anyone he wanted as a partner, and so Austin Aries picked none other than Shinsuke Nakamura. Blake and Murphy were in disarray and arguing right from the start. They actually had a disagreement over who would start the match, and so Aries ran across the ring with a dropkick, almost pinning Murphy in the first 10 seconds of the match. Aries and Nakamura worked very well together, so well that I was hoping they would become a full-time team, but alas, that probably ain't happening anytime soon. Blake at one point ran away when Nakamura was running wild and Murphy needed some help. So Nakamura gave Murphy the Kinshasa knee for the pin. The story was Aries had wanted the tag. You could see him in the background reaching for it, but Nakamura either didn't see it or just ignored it. So Nakamura hit his knee, picked up the win. After the match, Blake, Murphy, and Alexa argued with each other, with Alexa storming off, turning her back on Blake and Murphy and walking away. And then Blake turned his back on Murphy and walked away. Dun, dun, dun. Bayley was backstage saying she's not afraid of Nia Jax, and while she's tough, the same thing that happened in London would happen tonight. And after she beats Nia Jax, she's going after Asuka one more time. We had a cool music video featuring clips of Asuka interspersed throughout. No Way Jose cut his first promo, saying he's really excited to be on NXT, happy to show off his smile, but hope people don't underestimate him. He said this is just Jose being Jose, and he's here to have fun, have a fiesta, and have a fight. Carmela returned to take on Peyton Royce. Backstage before the match, Carmela cut a promo looking slightly to the left of the camera, which just looked stupid. But she was talking about how her boys, Enzo and Cass, talking about how great it is that they're on Raw, but saying she's staying in NXT because she wants to be women's champion. Well, that and she's surely not ready for WWE, but let's move on from that. Anyway, Peyton calls herself the Venus Flytrap of NXT, and no one has a clue what the heck she means by that. No one. Peyton got a near fall with a kick to the face and used a version of the Three Amigos where instead of a third suplex, she used the Fisherman's suplex at the end. But Carmela actually looked pretty good on her comeback this week, picking up the win with a flatliner followed by the head scissors. Okay, last Saturday night in Portland at an NXT house show, there was mass chaos with Samoa Joe and Finn Balor after their match. You've probably seen the video, you've at least heard people talking about it, but those two went all nutty on each other, needing the entire locker room to empty out to separate them and keep them away from each other. This led to the announcement by Mr. William Regal that at NXT TakeOver on June 8th on the WWE Network, Samoa Joe and Finn Balor's match will now be inside of a steel cage. Blake, Murphy, and Alexa were backstage arguing. Alexa shouted that she was tired of them constantly losing, so she is dumping 470 pounds of lifeless weight in order to win the NXT Women's Championship. Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, after being on NXT for almost a year now, have what I believe is their first squash match, taking on Danny Burch and Rob Risen. Corey Graves made it a point to say that the fans are always chanting Johnny Wrestling, but never chanting for Ciampa. So maybe that's something to look ahead to in the next few weeks. Anyway, Gargano and Ciampa made fools out of Burch for several minutes until Risen distracted Ciampa just long enough for Burch to take over. Even then, the heels didn't last very long on offense. Gargano used the spear through the ropes on Risen before Gargano and Ciampa finished off Risen with the double super kick to the head. Mr. Eagle was backstage. He congratulated both Enzo and Cass and the Vaudevillains on being called up to Raw before booking the rematch for TakeOver, American Alpha defending the NXT Tag Team Championship against the Revival. Then it was time for the main event, Nia Jax versus Bayley. This was not officially a number one contenders match, but I'd say it's a safe bet that the winner of this will probably be facing Asuka in 3 weeks at TakeOver. These two first squared off at NXT TakeOver London last December, with Bayley winning by tap out. She used the guillotine over and over again until she finally got Nia down, and she tried the same strategy here. She went for several chokes, headlock. She went for rear choke. She did everything she could to try to bring Nia down. However, Nia on this night was too much for her, destroying poor little Bayley. Every time Bayley would try anything, Nia had a counter for it. At one point, Bayley came off the ropes, and Nia hit a beautiful tilt-a-whirl shoulder breaker on her, and that's when she began the assault on the shoulder. And so with the one shoulder of Bayley gone, it was hard for her to latch on a guillotine. It was next to impossible for her to do a Bayley-to-belly suplex. Nia used a Cobra Clutch and her jumping bear hug to wear down the champ. Bayley started using leg kicks, but she could not maintain any sustained offense. Bayley did get a crossbody off the top rope as the closest she came the entire match, but Bayley kicked out. Bayley did finally hook on the guillotine, but she was thrown off. She landed awkwardly, hurting her knee, and then Nia squashed her in the corner, picked up the win with the leg drop, to the shock of, I think, most people in the audience. So yes, Nia Jax completely dominated the former champion, picked up the win, and now will probably go face-to-face with Asuka in the very near future. But who knows when that's going to be? Spoiler, it's probably TakeOver. But until then, thank you all for listening, and I'll talk to you again in 7 days.
You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.